Hey, how's it going? Did you miss me? Well, I missed you. So I've got another juicy Q&A for you. This time, your Q's covered everything from multitasking and body swapping to meditation tips and alone time. Plus, being a lesbian in a man's body, and my 3 picks for a living or dead dream dinner. Spoilers, Tesla, Lynch, and Lao motherfucking Sue. Pardon the jungle noise and forgive the dry mouth. It's time for 20 questions, part 3, on Buddha and the slut.
Yeah, is this gonna suck the whole time, or is this like the only part that sucks? I just want to gauge how much suck I have to friggin' sit through.
Cammy Mac. When you're working on a project, Brooke, how do other projects affect your work? Do you allow yourself to be distracted? Is it a part of your creative process? Or would you prefer, in a perfect world, that you only work on one thing at a time? This is an easy one. Cammy Mac, I'm not blowing off your question. Throat's a bit sore, but also I have a quick answer for you. I absolutely have a weakness of not being able to multitask. I don't mean to be rude or cliche with this. I am typically male. I would rather hyper-focus on one thing and do it well. When I'm given multiple projects, something has always suffered. So I prefer, even if I'll be late, to put one of the projects on the back burner, apologize for it, and focus on one. Because it's like how I started this chat with polyamory. You can technically maybe have multiple lovers at once, but I have a hard enough time with one. And I feel the same way about the things that I write or work on or the art that I do. If I don't completely surrender to it, if I don't give myself to it, if I'm not absolutely there in every moment as I fuck it, then I'm going to be a shitty lay with the art piece that I'm making or writing. You get the metaphor. You get what I'm saying. Other projects will slow me down. Other projects will distract me. And sometimes I'll rebel and do neither. Sometimes I think I've probably even sabotaged myself and been let go or replaced. Because my passion wasn't in it. I have to be passionate about a project, and I want to be focused on it.
Oh, man, if that shows up on YouTube, I'm serious. What kind of torture is this? Couldn't you just drill my teeth or shove bamboo under my nails or something?
Xavier Song asks, you can be someone else for a day. Ooh. Who would it be? There's a qualifier. Gender-wise, you can pick any female or someone who does not fit in a binary, cis, whatever world. What would you change in this person's life? And which of your own boundaries would be tested? Oh, boy. This might also date me because I'm not picking someone young and pert. But I would pick Angelina Jolie. Yes, I wouldn't even say like in her prime. I'd say now because she's messed up. I would pick Angelina Jolie for one day. Okay, I would throw out all her drugs if she's still on drugs. I would fire all of her servants and her maids and her nannies and childcare people. I would give away a ton of her money. I would take off any stitch of makeup or any hair weaves or anything else. I would eat 8,000 calories. I would stuff so many burgers and calorie-dense food and cheesecake and whatever else because that woman used to be gorgeous and curvy and absolutely breathtakingly sexy. Now I just see her and I want to give her a sandwich. So that's one way that I would change her. But I think also I would, right before the day ended, I would take a massive dose of a deep and powerful psychedelic. We're talking ayahuasca or San Pedro mescaline or some intense proven mushrooms or maybe even like a hardcore hit of salvia, which I've never touched. I'm still afraid of. Or ibogaine or something. And so as soon as she comes back into possession of her psyche and of her body, she would be overwhelmed to find that she was alone. No one was taking care of her kids. Her whole support network based on money was there, that she was full of food, that she had to release her body image. I would force her into a moment of ego shattering, which is what all those things were designed to do. And I think that it would remind her how much power she really has and the fact that she had a huge influence on people. I know she's done great work with the UN, that she cares about third world countries, that she believes in her causes pretty deeply. Is a lot of that compensatory for issues from her childhood and with her mom and definitely with her dad? For sure. But I think, as one card-carrying June 4th Gemini to another, I think she's good people deep down, but you get caught up in that world and it breaks you. It breaks you and destroys you. And she was born into a world of celebrity, into a strange kind of European parallel with America. And I think it messed with her head and all that beauty and all that attention and all her daddy issues and Billy Bob Thornton shit and Brad Pitt shit and everything else and all the adopted kids. I think it fucked with her. And I would try to tear all that away, if only for a few hours. Tear it all away so she could look at herself in the mirror and see the celestial beauty deep down in her spirit. And then hopefully she would wake up after it, or get her head together after it and stick with that path for a while and affect people in a really positive way. How would I challenge my own boundaries? Easy. I'd have a gangbang. Make of that what you will, but that's what I do.
Take a bite of peach.
Let me explain something to you. Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration.
Soccer Mama, nice, asks, while you were in the temple and taking the vow of silence for such a long time. Now, what she's referring to is silent retreats that I've done here in Southeast Asia. And I've written a story about that, but I also posted my last podcast. It's about that. It's called Of Endings and Enlightenment. If you haven't heard it yet, you should go check it out. That's number 2. So go check it out. But yeah, she's asking, while you were doing that, while you were in the temple vow of silence, how did you quiet your mind to the point where silence even questioned you? I think I get what you're saying. You get to that level of silence inside and outside. That's what Vipassana is for, right? You have your gates of perception, right? I think that if I remember correctly, you have the 6 gates. So you have the gate of taste and smell and sight and hearing and touch and of your mind, of your thoughts. And the idea is you keep paying acute attention to those gates. Like, what am I hearing right now as you breathe? What am I tasting right now? What am I feeling on my skin right now? What am I smelling right now? What am I seeing? Even with my eyes closed, what am I seeing in my mind's eye right now? What thought is bubbling into my consciousness or crossing it like a cloud in a windy day right now? And you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and you keep doing that until all the senses start to fall away. And as the senses start to fall away, as the hearing goes, as the taste and the smell and what you see and what is touching you as you sit, as your back is sore, as your joints are creaky, as you roll your shoulders and let it go, as you breathe and feel the breath in your chest and your belly, as you let that go and you start to let thoughts go. You don't hold on to them. You don't get onto thought trains. You just see them disappear like clouds. Suddenly, that is when you have a moment where your mind goes quiet. You get this spaceless, timeless moment, and it's like you're dropped down an elevator shaft in the best possible way, and you go deep. And that's where the cool stuff happens. That's where, as David Lynch says, that's where you catch the big fish. So yeah, you just breathe. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to all your senses, and the quiet will come. The easiest way is just to pay attention to where the breath comes into the body through the nose, where it's touching the skin as it comes in, and holding it, and then letting it out in the same way, and feeling it pass out your nostrils. You pay attention to that feeling in the one spot, the physical sensation of the breath. And eventually, you get quiet. And then cool shit happens. Okay, soccer mama? Cool. Dutch Delight, hooray, asks, what if you could have dinner? Is that my Dutch? That's horrible. I'll try it again. What if you could have dinner with 3 other people? You can choose anyone, deceased or alive. Who would you have dinner with and why? Oh, and one more. What is your favorite shape and why? That was the worst accent, and it makes me regret not going back and doing really crazy accents for everybody. I should have done my horrible Russian and Scottish and all these things of all the Ukrainian and all the people I meet on these travels. But that was my first and my only. So dinner with 3 people, and what is your favorite shape? Favorite shape first. I'll answer that one first. I don't know why. It could be a weird thing with me. It could be a weird spiritual religious thing with me. It could be the fact that I played lots of Dungeons and Dragons. It could be the fact that I just saw this really cool B horror movie called The Void, where there was like a Lovecraftian style cult and their symbol was this. But I have a thing for triangles. I don't know whether it's a Holy Trinity deal. I don't know whether it's three-pointed star. I don't know whether it's the idea of a pyramid, which has this kind of archetype in our minds, and the idea of rising up a mountain, spiritual ascendance. I don't know what it is. The four-sided die in D&D was my favorite little rollable pyramid. I like triangles. I like 3 points. There is something mystical about the number 3. I like the look of it, the sharpness of it, the fact that it feels, I don't know, it just feels spiritually important. Is that weird? Is that crazy? I love seeing some of the art for the new Twin Peaks series. As you all know, I worship. If you don't know, you know now. I worship Twin Peaks. Listen to my first podcast again, Peaks and Geeks. But one of the symbols that was embedded into the series with the whole log lady and Major Briggs thing and Owl Cave and the tattoos, the burn marks they got, were these triangles, these inverted triangles. There's something about a triangle that feels kind of like 70s, 80s horror, mystical, paranormal, supernatural, Doctor Who-y. So I don't know what it is. There's something about it. And when I say triangle, I mean like equilateral, all three sides the same. That is my jam for shapes. I'm losing my voice, so luckily I only have a few questions left. The other part of Dutch Delight's question was dinner with 3 people. Okay, I would say Nikola Tesla, David Lynch, Lao Tzu. Let me tell you again, Nikola Tesla, David Lynch, Lao Tzu. Nikola Tesla because it's fucking Nikola Tesla, all right? Teach me the free energy. Teach me the secrets of the universe. Let me witness the magnificence of your mind. Let me be in the presence of your electric self and your transcendent spirit and that level of genius and just sit there in awe because my left and my right brain would just worship it. You'd resurrect long dormant corners of my scientific self and my artistic and spiritual self would be your disciple. Easily. There is something about you, your piercing gaze, and maybe you could teach me how to love a pigeon. All right? And worst comes to worst, you could make me a death ray, and that could be useful someday. Just saying. Number 2, David Lynch. Duh. Anyone who knows me? Duh. Anyone else? I just mentioned the Twin Peaks thing. David Lynch, he creatively is such an inspiration for me because with his meditation background and his willingness to explore the darkness in the human heart and his ability to tell these stories that can reach levels of absurd comedy, but also profound, chilling horror, like dread, tension and dread, but also an uplifting sense of transcendence, especially in his later work. I have loved almost everything. Yes, even Inland Empire. Yeah, I've loved almost everything he has made. Dune, too. Not the theatrical cut, the longer cut that's floating around out there. But there's always been something magic to his work. And even his underrated films are now being re-examined, especially with Twin Peaks Season 3 coming. There are a lot of people looking at his work and saying, we underestimated this. This is profound. Like, they were saying for years that Mulholland Drive, oh, that's his best ever, and wow, what a film. He made the exact same film before Mulholland Drive. It was called Lost Highway, but it was with boys, and because it was with boys, it was misogynistic. It's the same movie. It's a purgatory loop. It's coming to grips with a horrible action and being forced to live that loop again and again and again. It's self-created. It's karma. Lynch is about karma. He said it in a recent lecture, and I loved it, and I would love to talk with him about this, the creativity of karma. People asked, you do these films and tell these stories about some pretty dark stuff, and he was talking, I think it was a university lecture, and he was talking about how he was fascinated with the idea that people come into this world and seem to have everything given to them easily. Everything just seems to unfold for them. They have great luck, they're born to good families, they get their way, they're either rich or they're attractive, and things are just smooth, and if something bad happens, they escape it, like with Teflon slickness, nothing sticks to them, it's bad. It just seems like they're blessed. Whereas other people, and I can attest to this, not just from my own personal experience, yeah, I've had challenges, but I've had peers and friends who just, it's like their life is cursed. I write about that in The Cat's Maw, in the fantasy novel that I did for young adults. it honestly feels like these poor people, everything just piles on them. Something bad happens again and again, no matter how hard they try. There are problems with family and problems with peers and problems with health and problems with just government, and every single thing seems to go wrong. Betrayal, 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 suffering, suffering, suffering. And he put it best where he said, those tales of karmic debt, it's like they come into this life with karmic debt. I believe that. And some people get crushed under the weight of the karmic debt. Some people lash out and cause more karma to be accrued. The villains of our life, the people who are really suffering and then they can't bear it anymore, so they do horrible things. So that's a facet of karmic debt. And then there are others who somehow seem to know once they get old enough or enough things happen, they seem to get the hint, like, all right, this lifetime is for me to endure it and to burn that karma off. And next time I'll get a little bit easier of a ride. I love that he understands this. I feel similarly, and I think we'd have great chats about it. And the other time, I just think we'd talk about cool stuff, and he'd say Nifty Keen, and I'd get him to do his Gordon Cole impression from his own part that he plays on Twin Peaks, and how you doing, Brooke? Nice to meet you. Like, golly gee, Nifty. We would drink a lot of coffee and smoke a lot of cigarettes, and Tesla would laugh, and that would be cool. And last but not least, Lao Tzu. It's the Taoist motherfucker. Come on, who wouldn't want to sit and smoke a joint or a bong with Lao Tzu, hang your foot in the river with a fishing rod that has no lure on it? You're just doing it because you want to feel the river flow past your fishing line and vibrate up to your arm and be one or be at one with nature itself. And I get him to teach me the origins of yin yang and how to chill out and how to not cling so much and to be more balanced. But just to be in the presence, I don't think Lao Tzu would even have to say much. Even if I could understand Chinese from his period, I don't think he would even have to say much. I think just having dinner with those three, the presence of all three of those combined would be existence shifting and life affirming.
Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Come watch TV.
Wubba lubba dub dub. Question from Switchlord. Switchlord, have you, or how have you, come to terms with the different states of aloneness versus loneliness, connection versus separation, being of no fixed address, but being a global citizen as well? Do you grapple with these, or are they not even relevant constructs anymore? Many of us think we could live this nomadic lifestyle that you do, but suspect it is not for the faint of heart, mind, body, and spirit. Thank you for the question, Switchlord. Switchlord, I have to say that maybe the rough stuff from my youth, being an only child, not being so close to my parents, not really having friends, living for television and video games and distractions, being lonely at school, even when I was on teams or playing D&D with, quote, friends, unquote, I was always lonely. And I lost myself in stories and books and movies, mainly comic books, I'll admit it, but comic books, music, movies, TV. I think that that's why it might have been a little bit easier for me to do this, because for me it was worse to be surrounded by people and to feel lonely versus aloneness, right? Aloneness is just solitude. And how do you deal with solitude? Do you feel lonely, or is it an energized solitude where you feel clear and relaxed? I do find that as I've gotten older, I've become more of this high-functioning introvert, where I can spend a few hours with people, but then I need like half a day or more to recover from my time spent with people. My favorite thing when I lived back in Vancouver, if I had to go to work or do a contract meeting or something for a few hours, or meet about a creative project or go on a date or something, I would come home afterwards and just, turn off the lights, light some candles, throw on some incense, put on some chill music, and run a bath. And I would sit in that bath with Epsom salts and lavender oil, make all the jokes you want. I'm a lesbian in a man's body and proud of it, son. And that would chill me out. It was blissful. And now when you travel the nomadic lifestyle and you're not doing it as a couple or as part of a group, I can take my moments of solitude whenever I want them. The challenge is, yes, there are times while you're traveling where you realize it acutely with the volume turned up, that this is not your culture. that this is not your home, that you don't really have anything to return to, that you're, quote, friends, unquote. It's just kind of a bond of commonality. We speak the same language, or I've seen your face a few times, and hey, if the cops were coming for either one of us, I'd blame you. There's no real bond there, but at the same time there is, because you have to be a bit more vulnerable when you travel because you need other people. But that loneliness sinks in when you want to feel like you're seen. You want to feel like you're really heard. You want to feel like you're understood. And if you're a person that has those relationships with family or with friends or with a significant other or even with your pets, it can be quite lonely when you have a moment of, existential angst, or like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, when you go through a deep depression. I think that can be an incredible challenge when that loneliness strikes and you go, oh my God, I am so insignificant. I'm nothing. I think I was able to survive it because I could throw myself into creative work. Years ago, I threw myself into distractions with women or with physical activity, or more travel, see new places, novelty, great distraction, right, to the shit that you're actually going through. But eventually you're forced to face it. I think anyone could do it. I didn't make fun of people. I love Survivor, the TV show. I know, guilty pleasure. But I never understood why people would start weeping like grown men, weeping like babies, strong women weeping like infants on the family visit after 30 days when the family guest would come and help them in a challenge or give them hope or give them a letter from home, and the people would break down and cry. And I'm like, it's 30 days. I felt alone for 35 years or 40 years. So maybe I'm just wired differently. But I think that if you're at all on the spiritual path at some point in your life, one of the most powerful things that you can do is to treasure your solitude. Treasure those moments of aloneness and quietness with your thoughts. And yeah, if all you're going to do is distract yourself with parties and sex and work and acquisition of goods and novelty of seeing new places, it's not going to help you. It's not going to work for you, and you're not going to like it. But if you genuinely appreciate the quiet, if you genuinely love nature, if you're fascinated by people watching, if you take a little bit of time each day to go inside and just listen to what your intuition, your heart, what the great vast ocean of consciousness is trying to tell you. And if you also value your moments of social time, the few hours each day you go out for a meal and say hi to the locals, or attend some local ceremony, or go to some expat gathering and go to a music night, or go play cards or backgammon or a little book club or an art club. There's lots of stuff you can find and do. The whole world's set up for tourists now. I think it's possible. Hence this digital nomad experience. There are more and more people doing it now. And if the person asking this question is who I think it is, milady, you live in Vancouver, Canada. And that is, without a doubt, one of the most expensive cities on the planet. And I can tell you, after living there for 20 years, I am here in Southeast Asia. I was in Greece over Christmas. I've been in Morocco and other parts of Europe. And gosh, I never pay more during these digital nomad travels with my backpack. I haven't paid more than 1/3 or at most 1/2 monthly of what I paid back in Vancouver for a 1-bedroom shit apartment. And that's not even counting the $100 for a couple of tiny bags of groceries from Whole Foods or something similar. It's nuts. And it's nuts. So for me, not being a rich guy and being a bit of a cheap guy raised by frugal British parents, the digital nomad thing works. And I think that the lonely days can be balanced out and alleviated a bit or soothed a bit by the power of modern connectivity and technology, communication technology. The internet helps, whether it's downloading your favorite TV show or Skyping with a friend or checking your Facebook obsessively all day like I do. So there you go. Thank you.
I'm old enough to know that a longer life isn't always a better one. In the end, you just get tired. Tired of the struggle. Tired of losing everyone that matters to you. Tired of watching everything turn to dust.
And that's the way the news goes.
That's all she wrote, kids, but I hope you won't stop writing in with your questions on travel, art, spirituality, sex and relationships, and anything else tickling your undercarriage. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Insta, YouTube, or through the Conspire link at brookeburgess.com. Do it. Next time, it's a candid chat on cooking, creativity, and filthy jokes in other languages with infamous Aussie-Italian chef, not to mention my partner for Travel Channel's The Pilgrimage TV series pilot, Antonio Bruno from Rawai, Thailand. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so you're down with the latest and greatest. Till then, my friends, try to keep your hearts from breaking and keep the yeast for baking.